Good evening, everyone. I thought I would do a sneaky evening session today on our interview Wednesday, and I've got the amazing Charlene joining me today. So let me just get her on. I won't be a second. So, as you know, or as some of you know, I am Jessica Mcilveen from Kids Yoga Therapy, and I've been doing some interviews of late, the last few weeks, I think 4 weeks now, and I'm wanting to do a series of interviews with extraordinary people, courageous people, people with amazing stories who have come through adversity, challenges by reconnecting with their bodies. And I suppose working with children, they tend not to be able to put language to their experiences. So that's why I thought that I would invite amazing adults on here for you all to listen to, so they can put language to what our children are experiencing if they have experienced violent homes or abusive or neglectful homes, or if they've experienced medical trauma, or if they have any type of special needs such as autism or ADHD or sensory processing disorders. So it's really difficult for us to understand what's happening with the mind and the body unless we're experiencing it ourselves. And that goes with anything. It's not just, if you have a diagnosis. So that's why I'm doing this interview series. And tonight I'll be speaking with Charlene. So Charlene has a really, really beautiful story to share, and I will let her I'll share that story herself. But let's just get her on here first. So if you are jumping on, make sure you give us a wave or say hello. Let us know that you're watching. And so who have we got here? If you're on here, say hello, give me a wave. Let me know that you're there. Okay. Charlene, if that's you, you'll just be able to add yourself down the bottom. You just click request to join the interview, and I should be able to say yes to you. So bear with us, everybody. Here we go. She's coming on board. So hopefully there is no echo this time. Hello, Sonia. Okay, she's coming on.
Hello.
Hello, Charlene.
How are you?
I'm good. Welcome. It's nice to see you, and it's nice for you to be here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. So just so everybody gets a feel for you, why don't you just introduce yourself just briefly, just so that they get a sense of who you are.
Sure. Well, my name's Charlene, as we've established. I am a yoga teacher. I teach anyone from 2 to 90, whatever. My passion is teaching children and giving them skills and techniques to cope and get them through difficult times and anxiety and so on. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Yeah.
Thank you. And whereabouts are you from? Where do you live?
I'm in Brisbane, in Forest Lake in Brisbane, so southwest. Originally from New Zealand, so originally a Kiwi.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing. And I guess so you've got really an amazing journey that led you into the love of yoga and the healing powers of yoga for yourself, for your children, but now you're doing it with every child that you can get your hands on, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I guess let's start with you from the beginning, and I guess the challenges that you faced in your life, in your world.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't know, and I'm not ashamed to talk about it, but probably the first 10 years of my life were quite traumatic years. Going into great detail, but I was a child of domestic violence. My parents split up when I was probably about 2.5, 3, and my stepdad was quite a violent person. So, yeah, I pretty much grew up for the first 10 years of my life around pretty traumatic, scary things. And I don't like saying that to people to make them feel sorry for me, because that's been and gone, and I've dealt with that, and I forgive people, send them love and move on type thing. But it's more so people realize, and children in that situation realize, that there is a way out and you're not going to be stuck in it forever. And, you know, if you find something that nourishes your soul and your mind and your body, then pursue it, and yeah, go with those things that are enriching your life. So yeah.
Yeah. So from, you know, as we know, the body mind connection is extremely important and powerful to understand. So
Yeah.
looking back on those years, Charlene, and after those years too, because traumatic times, they follow us until we're able to heal ourselves. So for you, what
Yes.
were the effects of that traumatic time, you know, with your body and your mind? Can you put language to that so, you know, adults that haven't experienced such things can understand?
Like what it did to me, and how I reacted and so on. And yeah,
Mm.
I grew up probably a very, very anxious girl. It's hard when people meet me to realize that. You know, and a lot of things in those type of environments when you're a child are hidden, and people don't know. You know, there would have been a few people that would have helped me growing up, which we can probably talk about later. But yeah, very anxious, very, you know, I hit my teenage years and I hit them really hard. Um, I, you know, went and lived with my biological dad, my dad and my stepmom, and I pretty much went from sweet little teacher's pet to I'm a rebel. And I rebelled it big time. So I, yeah, went off the rails quite a lot. I pushed a lot of people away and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And looking back on that time, do you know what you were searching for or what you were trying to achieve? Because, you know, as you know, we don't behave without needing something, a need to be met, you know. So do you know what you were needing at that time?
I feel like, you know, I know that developing things in the early years of your life are really, really vital. And I do believe that yoga can actually rewire and retrain your brain that way too. So quite lucky I discovered yoga. But yeah, now I've lost my train of thought.
You know, those rebellious years, you went from a, you know, a really good a teacher's pet to a, you know, a rebel, you know. So do
Oh,
you
okay,
know
yeah.
what was driving those behaviors looking back on that time now?
I would say fear of rejection from people. So that was my barrier and that was my wall, and I hurt a lot of people. And yeah, I would go through life sort of pretending I didn't care. People get close to me, and then I would put that wall up, and I would push away, and I would run. That was my thing. I'd run. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. And because as you know, I work with a lot of children in care, so a lot of foster children, and this is a really difficult scenario for these kids because a lot of them do have those walls up. You know, they're trying to protect themselves, they're trying to survive, they're trying to, you know, make sure they don't get hurt any more than they already are. So can you
yeah.
relate to that? And I suppose if there are any carers watching in those really tough years, what would you say to them? I mean, what would you ask of them, you know, from your perspective?
I would probably say just being there. And it seems like, they don't care, and they have no feelings, and they have no empathy. And to be honest, I find that a lot of people who go through things like that actually have more empathy than most. And I do have a lot more empathy than most people. I feel people's pain. And they are in pain, and they just want you to love them, but they don't know how to react to it. So it's perseverance, it's patience, it's trying different strategies, different ways, and just finding that one personal thing that works for that one personal child. That's
Sure,
the
sure.
best thing
Yeah.
you can do. Always being there.
Okay. Yeah. And so what was I guess the edge for you? What was the point where you just needed something and something changed? Do you remember that time, or what led to a point where change just needed to happen for you?
I do. I discovered yoga in my late 20s. And I met my husband in my early 20s. So, yeah, poor guy holding on for dear life. And I remember before our wedding, I was like, oh, I need to tone up and get fit and do yoga, because I've heard yoga is really good. And that's where it got me. And it didn't just get me in an exercise way, as you put it. It got me in the mind, and it got me in the soul, and like just really hit home during meditation. So yeah.
Wow. Just by accident.
Yes. Yes. If I
Accident.
knew earlier what I know now,
Of course, yeah. So what were the changes that started to happen for you? So you said you were quite an anxious person, and possibly still some fear-based behaviors. I'm not too sure, but what were the biggest changes or feelings that you started to experience from your yoga practice?
Um, I just felt like myself. I felt like I was always wondering who I was. I never really had a place in the world, if that made any sense. And I felt like I was finally me. And this was who I was, and this is who I've always been, but I've been too scared to show it. And
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
pretty powerful. That was very, very, yeah, very powerful.
Yeah. Really powerful. So were there any major changes in your life from realizing this? Because that's a huge thing to realize, is finally discovering who you are and being comfortable with that and feeling safe enough to show people. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. Um, how would you put it? It's hard to, I don't know.
It's hard to put
Yeah,
language
realizing that I think the
to.
changes were probably not reacting as much as I would,
Yeah,
and situations that came up, I would approach them differently, and yeah, and opening up to people more. I started to enjoy, I live through love and not live through fear. That, yeah, pretty much that.
that's beautiful, Charlene. How amazing for you to be able to say that. It's really beautiful. That's two times now that you've given me goosebumps. The other day was once, and this was the second time.
Aw,
So,
lovely.
so with all of that, now you've got a few children of your own, and now you're working with
Yes.
children with yoga. So I guess, can you just share a bit about that, and what's driving you, and what changes have you seen in your own children, in the children that you work with? Yeah, share a bit about that.
Um, I mean, what drove me even more to go into kids yoga is my son, would have been nearly 6 years ago, was diagnosed with ADHD, and sensory processing disorder. I don't like calling it a disorder. I feel like it's a gift. It's amazing. But yeah, and then we did a lot of OT, a lot of occupational therapy and things like that. And he is a seeker, so you know, he seeks sensory input to actually move and function. So it was finding things that really worked for him, in a world where that was crazy. and to help him and give him tools. And he still has things as he's getting older. He's having different things, but yeah, it's being able to help him through that.
Sure, sure. And you've been finding that yoga is helping with that?
Mm-hmm. Big time. Yeah. It has. I mean, and my daughter's the same. Like it really does help her as well. And just be able to just be in the moment and just, yeah, be able to yogi breathe, how we breathe through here and not through everything else. And yeah, going
Yeah.
back to basics.
Yeah. I was at an ADHD conference a few weeks ago with parents and teachers, and very much so, everybody was very interested in how we can make yoga and meditation more accessible to these children. And
Yes.
with, there's many stories and success stories and some not, because it doesn't always work for every child, and that's completely okay. But
Exactly.
what's your go-to? Is there any go-to methods or strategies that your son does enjoy, and how does it make him feel afterwards?
I would say the go-to thing with him would be, the physical asanas are really good, a bit of movement in that. But then, like at night, like my kids always have meditation music on at night and things like that. So they're always like, "Mom, I need meditation," and it's just being still and concentrating on your breath. And they tell me everything, which I'm hoping they're still going to do down the track. But yeah, just being open and being able to talk about it and get it off your chest, and that
Yeah.
kind of just the mindful effect is really important.
Yeah. And what about the children that you work with, Charlene? Have you witnessed or been able to see amazing results or stories with them? You've worked with so many now.
So many, and it's beautiful. Like, a lot of ASD and a lot of ADHD kids come along. Don't like to, go into detail. I had one at a class the other day, and he had a meltdown in an exercise class before he came to my class, and he pretty much, like, I like to address it on an individual level. So everybody was there. Hi, Pam. And Pam's watching. Everybody was there, and there was so much noise and he was in sensory overload. So he just hid under 2 yoga mats through the whole class and just played with some sensory toys of mine. And that's, I have Yogi Bear I bring along, and if anyone's ever seen a Medi Teddy, definitely get one because they are amazing. The kids love them. So Yogi Bear comes everywhere with me, and he's one of my calm down strategies and works really well. So that kind of thing. And there was a boy at a before school care, and I was talking to an educator today, and when he first started coming to my classes probably a year ago, he was very high, very bouncy, run around the room, and they'd all be like, "I'm so sorry, he's running around." I'm like, "Just let him, it's fine." And now I actually posted some photos tonight, and he led a meditation today. and he's very proud of him. But,
Yeah, really wonderful. And I'm sure he probably feels so happy with himself too.
Very proud of himself, which is so awesome. Like, he's just come so far. And even today they were like, he's just so different. Like, he's not, he's him. He's so, he's feeling very fulfilled, and it's awesome to see. So cool.
Yeah, wonderful. That's really great. So if there were, I suppose, a lot of the people that do watch me, they either care for children that have experienced trauma, or they have children with various types of needs, and they either might have considered yoga and meditation, or maybe they've never considered it. So in your experience, for yourself, for your children and the children that you work with, what would be, I guess, some advice for them, or some thoughts that you would share with them about yoga and meditation as an option to help them?
Yeah. I like to make it fun. I've had a few kids come in, and their parents have made them come along, and they're like, "I hate yoga," and I'm like, "Have you ever done yoga before?" And they go, "No," and then I get them asana. I love it. But I think you make it fun. Like, I do yoga games. You probably do too. making it feel like it's not work and it's not a chore and it's not something that, oh, I've been made to do this. And yeah, they call therapy and they're like, great. But it's, yeah, make it fun, cater it to them. And just every resource you can get, anything that works. I mean, kids like repetition as well. We always have an opening in yoga class. So we always open with some ting shas and we say how we feel and things like that. Um, and just, yeah, something familiar, but also throwing in the happy games and just fun.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely needs to be fun. Absolutely. Sometimes we have
Yeah.
to, we've got to trick them into the good stuff.
You
That's how I
do. They
feel
don't know what's
sometimes.
good for them sometimes.
That's right, exactly, exactly. All right, Charlene. Well, before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to share with everybody, or any words of wisdom, or anything that is important for you for other people to know about the work that you do, or your journey? Anything at all?
Um, I think, it's something that the world's embracing, and I'm so pleased that everybody is starting to get on board with what actually works, because you and I know it's amazing and it works, and it's pretty much how everybody should be. But yeah, give it a go. And you go to one class or you try something yourself at home. There are online things as well, so there's so many things on YouTube. And if they don't like it first, kind of don't give up on that one approach. Like, try moving it and changing it around and seeing if they like it a different way. Or yeah, and even just bedtime routine, 5 minutes before bed, get them to concentrate on their breathing, um, and just being in the moment, and just, yeah, little bits.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's, you start off small and then you build from there. That's the idea, right? We want to build their concentration and not have those unrealistic expectations from the beginning, because then they just see themselves
Yes.
as failing. They will cut off completely and never want to try again. So yeah,
No,
that's a very
no,
good.
we will not come that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Charlene. Well, I do thank you very much for talking with me and sharing your story and your insights into the world of yoga for yourself and children. And
Thanks.
it's been lovely talking with you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
That's okay. Thanks, everyone. And if you've got questions for me or for Charlene, put them in the comments, and I'm sure Charlene and well, I will be, and I'm sure Charlene will be too, happy to answer anything that you have, any questions that you have. So thank you, everyone, and I'll be
Thank
connecting
you.
soon. Good night. Good night, Charlene.
Good night. Thanks.